Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use your promo code DNVR25. You'll get 25% off your entire purchase of that CBD-infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I'm your host, Drew Creasman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is beat writer Patrick Lyons. And on this episode, we are previewing for you this Colorado Rockies road trip. Maybe a chance to be less historically terrible. I don't know how we're framing this. I don't know.
Non-historic. Yes. A non-historic road trip.
Normally
that would be fantastic. 2 wins.
This is the run away from history, right? Yeah.
Going the opposite way. Yeah. Hiding amongst the history of baseball. You always, you want to hide sometimes.
So Patrick, we will get into some, DraftKings lines for you, get into all that, do a little bit of predicting and looking ahead here. But before we get into the specifics of, particularly tonight's game, we've said we've already answered the question. Can the Colorado Rockies win their first road series here in Arizona? We've talked about over the last couple of days why that's feasible. The Rockies having played better on the road lately. The Arizona Diamondbacks being generally terrible and also hurt. The Rockies now having this momentum of coming one pitch away from going unbeaten, 7-0 on the homestand. But Patrick, do the Colorado Rockies win their first road series?
No. Now everything's gearing up. Look, I want to be an unbiased journalist because frankly, that's what I feel I am. And everything that I've seen with this team says they will not. And everything that my fan hat, when I have my fan hat on today, I got the Boulder Collegians hat on, makes me think, oh my God, this team is really good. And they have really good elements. They have really good parts. They play really well at times. And we know they do that at home. But when they go out on the road, expect the expected. And it's pretty much been the exact same thing. I think they'll be more competitive. I could see them, and I think this is my prediction. I could see them winning only 1 of 3 against Arizona. And you go, the worst team in Major League Baseball. Well, a lot of that has to do with their own road issues. They don't have those issues at home, right? Cardinals fans, if you were on the STL Cards podcast, do we know if that exists? If there's a DNVR sister company? Maybe, yeah, the STLC. Yeah. They would have said, we're 4-game sweep easily. Like, if you only win 3, forget it. And here we go and we see, what happened. The Rockies actually winning the series 3-1. And so you take that in consideration and you go, yeah, you know what? They're just I feel like they're still going to have those issues, only win 1 out of the 3 against Arizona, but in true fashion, because they do seem to be getting stronger and playing better as the season goes on. I think they could take 1 from the Padres, and that's going to be my prediction. I think they will win 1 from the Padres, and you go, 2-4, that's still better than what they've been playing, and they did take 1 from the Padres in San Diego. So wouldn't that also be an improvement? I suggest that it is.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really that's fascinating, right? Because and this is a great question for chat here. And speaking of chat, I'll get into this, but Efron set me up too. Perfect. Efron, I believe it is, asking Patrick where you got that shirt. Patrick rocking the Mile High, no, forgive me, it's Fraud City shirt from DNVR. Got it from the DNVR Locker. So you can go there, check it out. And if you're not a subscriber, you should become one, because if you sign up for the annual, we'll send you one for free. And there's a whole bunch of great designs in there. So do go check out the DNVR Locker. Eric Weedham does a fantastic job, and do subscribe. Thanks for letting me break into one of those.
We don't mind if you figured out the workaround about becoming a subscriber and getting your free shirt that way. I do also want to point out that there is a poll going on Twitter right now at Patrick D. Lyons. We'll plug that more later. And right now, a lot of Rockies fans have said they are going to win this series. They're going to make progress. They're going to win 2 out of 3, 42% as of recording right now. 34% says they're going to win 1 out of 2. So it's right in that window, right? They're going to win 1, or are they going to win 2? And I hope, like many things, I hope they prove me wrong.
And so what I want to ask the fans now here and everybody, and I don't know that I have an answer to this either, is what Patrick just laid out as his prediction that they take 1 in Arizona and 1 in San Diego, or my prediction that they do finally win a road series. And by the way, I said this before the Pittsburgh series as well. This is the second time I've predicted them to win a road series. They got their asses swept in Pittsburgh. So, take that for what it's worth. However, I think they get this one. I think they get 2 in Arizona, but then I think they get well swept by the Padres. So either way, they're coming out of the road trip with 2 wins, according to both of us right here, right? But does it matter to you here in the fans that they just win a road series? Is that a feather? Do you care about that at all? Or would it actually be better to say, man, get one in San Diego because they're the better team? Wouldn't you rather have a win over them anyway? Isn't that a better feather in your cap? Like, I don't know the answer.
That is right. That's the perfect question. If they go 2-4, do you want the 2 coming against the worst team in baseball? That, again, I mean, let's face it, if you get in a conversation with a fan of any other franchise, it's not going to be a great conversation for you trying to defend your team. And yeah, but we did win a road series. It's against Arizona. You're going to get booted out of that conversation, obviously.
Yeah,
it's no win. It's a no win.
Just among us. This is just an among us chat. Yeah.
So would you rather have that, right? Or would you rather take a game from the Padres? It's the exact same record.
Right.
That's a tough call. I think you rather would. Like if you're talking about power rankings or beating a team that's over 500 on the road, that's worth a lot more than beating a team under 500 on the road. Oh yeah, and you also won another game in that series.
Right. It's just so Nighthawks with me saying they take 2 in Zona, swept in San Diego. Colorado's feeling hot, saying they're going to get 2 in Zona, 1 in San Diego, 3 road wins on the same trip.
A 500 record on the road for the series.
Of course,
how about this?
Win them all.
Win them all, Jacob. Positive man. All right. Yeah, great conversation, great fodder here. What is better? There's no necessarily right answer.
Right.
Would you rather, and I think I know the answer to this, but I figure I'd throw it out there. Would you rather 2 from Arizona and then you get swept by the Padres? Or, well, no. Or you get swept by the Diamondbacks and you win 1 from the Padres. It's a no-brainer. You would rather 2 from the Diamondbacks.
The 2 wins.
You do take the 2.
A win is a win, also, as Nighthawk says. There is an interesting thing that Will points up where we would normally, especially in a more competitive season, dive into these things where you start talking and looking at the pitching matchups. On the one hand, the fact that Herman Marquez is not scheduled to go against the Diamondbacks, that lessens your ability to win your first road series. On the other hand, it increases your chances to steal one from the Padres because anytime Marquez goes out there, you've increased your chances to steal a baseball game and win it from anybody. So that one is interesting as well. The Diamondbacks also do not yet have their pitchers listed for the second and third games, at least not in the 2 spots I've looked, not on the MLB app and not on this place where I usually go to look at Rockies' probable pitchers. So we've got John Gray versus Merrill Kelly tonight, which I think is a slight in favor of the Rockies, though we still need to see where exactly John Gray's at off the IL and all that. But still, he's been having the slightly better season. But then after that, a lot of guesswork. So then it's, is it a good thing that you're not that Senzatella and Chi-Chi are going against Arizona? If you can steal one of those games, it's a great thing because then you do have a chance to kind of have a really good road trip here and get one behind Marquez. Or again, where's Freeland at? Not sure. But he's looked pretty damn good the last couple times out. We're going to learn a lot on this road trip. I think it's going to be very informative. And they can kind of go all out because they had the off day and they've got the light at the end of the tunnel of the all-star break out in front of them, and they can just kind of like play all out for 6 days. It's going to be interesting.
I want to say that they have to win the first game, right?
Tonight's big.
But I don't think that. No? I don't actually think that. Merrill Kelly has been very good this season.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance, like you said, we don't know who their starter is. maybe Matt Peacock, maybe Taylor Widener. We could see that. And you lose the first game, you can still win the next two. I think, this team is very maybe mentally strong is probably too much to say, but they persevere. They can persevere mentally. And just because they go out and they take a series finally at home against a winning club like the Cardinals, or at least a talented club, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Do better overall through the entire homestand. You go, oh man, if they lose that momentum and they lose Tuesday night in game one, that's going to impact them. Look, they've already been through the ringer. They only 6 times in 37 games have they won on the road.
Right.
They lose another one. It's not like, oh man, I guess maybe we aren't as good. Here's that reminder that we stay. Like, look, they are who they are. I think they kind of know that and accept that and go, look, we have an opportunity to rewrite the record. They've been doing it all season long. All those 4-game series they've improved on. I think the last 2 homestands they've improved, not the win-loss record, but just how they've played competitively.
Yeah.
And so I think that can still change, over the course of this road trip. And if it doesn't happen in game one, I don't think you write it off and say, forget it. They're overmatched.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I do think this one is more big the other. I think you're right. I think it doesn't totally derail them because they're used to losing on the road, like as you basically said,
Yeah.
right? I think on the flip side, if they go out and win the first game of a road series behind John Gray, has a really nice game, I think that gets them in a spot where they go, maybe this is the trip where we break through a little bit and don't, and like we were talking about here, maybe they get to those 3 when they go 3-3 on a road trip because, and we can dive into this conversation if you want a little bit. I see our guy Ken in the comments talking about, and you and I had this conversation. What are they really on pace to win? 70 plus if you extrapolate their overall record. But if you take into account that they've had 11 more home games, and so if you extrapolate home and road record, it's more like 65 wins, which is really funny because you had them at 66 before the season. I had them at 70. So it's right in that range of where we had them anyway. But you win 3 games on a road trip when you've only won 6 all year and you have totally obliterated your pace, right? And so we're looking at something that's very, and while I do think both of those things are likely to normalize a little bit, just by the nature of their stats, the fact that one is historic, potentially, they've been historically bad on the road, and they've just been very good at home. They haven't been historically good at home. They've been very good at home. They've been one of the best teams in baseball this year at home. That'll come down a little bit, but it's not totally unsustainable. I am of the mind that 6 wins on the road this year is probably, they're going to do better than that. It doesn't take too many wins to throw that pace off because of the way the math works, right? So that's kind of why I'm kind of hyper focused on this game tonight, because I think if they get it, that's their best chance to throw off that pace and get to the number that I predicted, which you always want them to get to the number you predicted. Come on.
Yeah, and historically, the gap between how they played on the road and how they played at home is also historic. It's
right
in many ways, even more so, because only 11 teams in the history of baseball have ever had a 300% winning percentage difference at home and on the road. So like that's been huge. And you're right, both of those things should normalize. They'll win less at home and they'll get better on the road. But we've been saying that, I feel like, for a month. We've been saying that for a month.
I was gonna say.
And it hasn't happened. And it's not as crazy to think that they can continue to play really good at home. I mean, I almost tend to think that they could continue to lose just as badly. Like this is a more likely, I was thinking we'd bust out maybe at some point the All-Star break next week. And maybe now's the conversation. Like, what's more likely to happen, that their winning percentage on the road increases more than their winning percentage at home decreases?
Yeah.
And it's a hard one to figure out, partially because of their winning percentage on the road is so historically low.
Right.
So it's like, even if they are awful on the road, that's going to be a pretty big jump, right?
Exactly.
Even if they're just like, man, the worst, road winning percentage in the last decade. You'd sign up for that.
It'd still get, they would still get it. That's what I said. The math is so much easier on that side of it to get there, right?
Yes.
So that's why it's just like, we'll see how that ends up going. But there's also the other part, which I always try to stress through the numbers and remember the human element of the game is that you only play the games and the teams in front of you. Yeah, they've got more road games left. Do they have as many road games? Well, I think they've got roughly equal actually against the Dodgers. I'm not saying this as an argument. I'm saying those are the types of things you need to take into consideration. It's I even talked about at the beginning of the year that they were going to get better on the road as the season went out because of how inexperienced they were, and they've been gaining experience. And I think we've seen that, as you pointed out, it's manifested not in a ton more road wins, but in a handful more road wins and much better road play, which eventually should translate into a handful of road wins. And that's all we're looking for here. That's all I really need for them to kind of prove my point here. So we'll see. But fascinating. Let's unless you had a final point on that.
Well, this could be the tease, is this idea that maybe July 22nd, we find out a change in personnel on the field, because
and that's going to be a big,
the trade of Trevor Story could shift some things. We'll think about it here for a second, because I do think we both at least touched on it in the offseason. I don't know. I think we might have gone opposite ways, but this idea that when you trade Trevor Story, you're not going to be as good as you are with him.
Sure.
And so while they've played they've played like a 100 loss team on the road, and nowhere even close to that at home, they could make up that difference, right? Whether they're 65 or 70 wins, you go, hey, that's not 100 losses. But what happens when Trevor Story goes ...
Yeah, and that's the question why we said, in any other year of his career, I would have said, well, obviously, right? And now look, as a team, as a roster, they get worse. There's no question about that. They trade Trevor Story, they get worse immediately. You hope they bring in an amalgamation of guys that can help them get better in the future. But, I mean, to put it another way, how many times has Trevor Story been draft king of the game this year? That now, obviously, he's a good ball player and they lose that. But for this year's team, how much of their success and whatever how many of their wins have been, I would say a couple on this recent homestand is when he was actually the most important. I think this most recent homestand, some big home runs, some big moments, some big clutch moments. We've talked about how his defense, and I think a lot of that is just chances, which isn't his fault, but the ball not being hit in his direction as often as, he hasn't been as big a factor on defense or whatever. But I don't know that this version of the Rockies gets that much worse without Trevor Story, who by no means was like powering them through their only wins for the first 2 months of the season. Like he wasn't, he's not an all-star, right? So we're talking about, we know the caliber of player that they're losing, but we've also got to separate that from the actual production that they're taking out of their current lineup, which is a guy who's been not quite as good as Ryan McMahon so far this year.
The production, if you look at wins above replacement production wise, it's a 2-win player, but you got it in there in the nick of time before the buzzer. What he brings to the team in the clubhouse, the leadership, clutchiness, is that another 2 more, WAR, totally. Whatever it may be. That's what we can't measure. That's been the conversation with Elias Diaz this entire weekend, with everything he's finally producing statistically. Right. And you go, oh, okay, now people are starting to see like his value and that potential, and again, looking at who's available beneath him on the depth chart down in AAA and how the options maybe aren't so great.
Yeah.
And I think with how well Rogers has been playing, Hampson, Daza, McMahon, all of those guys in helps. 3/4 time. Now they're going to be playing a little bit more, and we don't know how they're going to respond. But if they do continue to play in the capacity that they've been, you've got to like their odds of them kind of replacing that
solid
to a degree. But we know when guys are, platooned or, given, decent amount of off days and stuff, they could get overexposed. And I think I would tend to believe that there will be that, unfortunately, and that's just part of the growth of a major leaguer, that there will be more of that overexposure, and then that's where you're going to see, the drop off, and it could be that, they do play, somewhat worse at home and continue to play the way they do on the road. But until we see that,
again,
man, it's fun to speculate.
I'll tell you where I'm actually concerned about that, and then we will plug our sponsors here. But far more concerning, and we've talked about this before too, for me, is the bullpen, because I do think that there's a potential scenario where the drop off from Trevor Story to, as you put it, Brendan Rodgers and Garrett Hampson really, while that's in the long run a pretty big drop off, in the short run they can sustain that for the rest of the year to be okay until whatever else happens. But they get rid of, Bardo, Givens, and Estevez or something like that, and you're like, then you're 100. Then you're gonna, how do you, who do you even hand the baseball to? Then you just lose games by default. You have to like, starters don't go 9 innings, and you have to get 27 outs. Those are the rules of baseball in order for the game to end. And so that's where I think, and it would be wise to, and ultimately that would be perfectly fine, right? To your point, running back a long ways, that if that's the direction it goes, they move on from those guys, and it does cost them a bunch of wins. That's a better way to do it than just going, walk into the season, we don't even give a shit, we're not even going to try, or acting like they should be like benching guys and not trying in the first half before things have panned out. It's like, that's the way you do it. You trade the veterans off the team and just accept the consequences thereof. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be an interesting month. So hang with us through all that. Also hang with our sponsors. We're going to get into the DraftKings stuff in just a minute. Also very excited about our friends at Ball, by the way. I have these giant, I think these used to be pickle jars or whatever, this big glass thing. And I drink my water out of that because we live in a dry environment. I get very dry. I need to hydrate, and using the little glass doesn't work. I just realized that all of them come, if you can see on there, all of them straight from Ball. I had no idea. I had these for years. It's a phenomenal company. You've probably had your life in some way impacted by them without even knowing, if you've got jars or glass or aluminum cans. They are the leading industry leading in the industry and all of that stuff. You've probably had their products, and you've probably heard that they are one of the best just members of the community, Colorado, national, global, because they're reducing carbon emissions. They're working on all the renewable stuff. They've got a 100% rating from the Initiative certification as a leader in the stewardship of aluminum, while meeting the highest environmental, ethical, and social standards within the market value chain. And the reason that I'm telling you about all of that is because they also treat their employees incredibly well, and they're hiring right here in the Golden area. I can personally attest to this. I've got family. I think it's good enough to call it. Did I just do a Vin Diesel meme without realizing? Family. It's worked for Ball for quite some time. Nothing but positive things to say. They treat their employees incredibly well. They tend to pay super well. Right here in Golden, they're looking to fill their facilities, making 8, 12, and 16-ounce can sizes for all kinds of liquids at 30 different facilities across the world. But the Golden plant regular making those 8-ounce, 12-ounce, and 24-ounce growler sizes. Pretty cool stuff. Get to work on all of that stuff. So if you're interested, apply for a position at the aluminum can plant. Text GOLDEN to 77222 or go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. That's jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or simply text GOLDEN to 77222. And as always, of course, in this next whole bit is going to be brought to you by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. You know them, you love them. You've probably been thinking about it here. Man, it sounds like people are having fun on that DraftKings Sportsbook app. I see people tweeting about it. I hear Drew and Patrick talking about it, placing these small dollar amounts, but I've never really got into betting. I'm not really into gambling. I don't know about all that stuff, man. Nice and easy, super fun. They make it really easy on the app to understand how to do it, to put in very small dollar amounts, low stakes things, just to have a little bit of fun with it. You can kind of keep a record of your best and or worst predictions, whatever. We're all doing it in sports all the time. As I love to say, you got to put your money where your mouth is. We like shooting off our opinions, and we're about to shoot off a few here in just a minute. If you think you know what's going to happen, throw a few bucks down, and you never know. You might actually win some real money. And even if you don't, you've made your sports watching experience a lot more fun. Right now, they're hooking you up with some fun promos having to do with McGregor versus Poirier, their third, apparently, at UFC 264. When you download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code DNVR when you sign up to turn $1 into $264 when you bet on a main event fighter to win by first-round knockout. Place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. Let's go DNVR to turn $1 into $264 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, Patrick. We've been talking about Rockies in Arizona tonight, facing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jon Gray versus Merrill Kelly. And DraftKings sees this as kind of a toss-up. They have the Diamondbacks favored to win, but you don't get great odds on doing that.
No.
You get solid odds if you take the Rockies to win, but only by 2 or more runs.
Yeah, so like there's a spread of basically 1 run.
Yeah.
So, and it's crazy to say also there's a spread when it comes to baseball. So really it's more about the over-under, right? Yeah. The over-under is 8.5, which seems like it could be low, but you think about what the Rockies, what they do on the road. There's also, when we get to, players that are going to get a hit, there are a lot of guys that are at over 1.5. Raimel Tapia is one of them. Yeah. So they're basically coming out saying that there's going to be a lot of people getting hits tonight. A lot of players getting hits tonight. Does it translate into runs? I don't know. Merrill Kelly has been, really solid this season. Jon Gray, since coming back from the IL, has made 2 starts. First one in Milwaukee, scoreless over 5 innings. We saw him against Pittsburgh, 6 innings pitched, right? Gave up those 2 runs early, settled down after that, was scoreless. So you got to like his odds of, kind of replicating that. So it's either the players coming through offensively, getting those hits, or it's the pitchers kind of shutting it down. And then you get to the bullpen.
Yeah.
How do these two things exist simultaneously? I don't see it happening.
It's so wild. I've had really great success hammering the unders on these lately, just because, the Rockies offense obviously doesn't tend to break out for huge run scoring totals. Even when they have a nice afternoon or something, they grab 5 or 6 runs in a day game against a pitcher who's struggling a bit at Coors. We haven't seen a lot of 10 spots this year. And so that kind of thing doesn't happen, right? And then, like you said, I tend to think, John's been good for most of the year. He's been good his last couple of starts. I like the under on this one. I see everything you say about how it could definitely very easily go the other way. But I also, when 2 teams are not particularly good, I tend to go with it's going to be low scoring, which is not always the way that works. Like you said, where I start getting nervous on all of these under bets that I've been placing for the last 2 weeks is around the 7th inning or so.
Yeah, I like the under. I do like the under. Kelly's been good his last 3 starts. That's kind of helped his overall ERA. He's won his last 3 starts, in fact. But his last 5 starts against the Rockies, 7.06 ERA. He has been better at home than on the road against the Rockies. Jon Gray just kind of highlighted what he's done his last 2 starts, which has been really good. But against Arizona in his last 5 starts, 5.46 ERA, but a little bit better in Arizona than at home. We also know Arizona doesn't have the the fondest of memories overall for John Gray, but that is
also that one game.
It's very far in the past. He's pitched there enough in the last couple of years that's another dimension at this point.
Totally.
That the entire roster, none of those guys are around, and the handful that are may not be next year. So I guess I am more inclined to go with the under on that. That's at -103. And even the over is at -120. So DraftKings is like, really? Do we even have to give odds? You know what?
What are these two?
We're going to make these odds as such that you don't really want to bet on this game at all.
Right.
No, but that really just goes to show you. And again, they've got their thing they need to do. It just goes to show how close they really think, both these teams are, that you could, again, make the case for Colorado to continue their momentum, win this ball game, but also, maybe not be as successful as they've continued to not be on the road. So it's just a toss-up. That's it. Yeah,
it really is. Anyone you like to hit a home run, as everyone knows, that's one of my favorite bets. They're seeing that Trevor Story has come alive a little bit, so he's among the worst odds. But still, this is, again, one of the things I love about the home run bet is it's still plus 350. So you're still making a nice little bonus on whatever bet you might make on Story. David Peralta is at plus 525. He rakes against the Rockies.
Elias Diaz at plus 750. You go, hey, are we riding the hot hand or are we not riding the hot hand?
Is he due to, like, no way he hits another one? But you would have said that about the walk-off. So
you would have said that for 4 straight games. Yep. Is he going to hit a home run? CJ Cron, I think has that potential a little bit. I know he's on there for only getting half of a hit. He's at plus 375 for those home runs. I know Dom Nunez, again, we've yet to see the starting lineup, but Dom Nunez does have a home run against Merrill Kelly so far. That was in their first matchup back in April in Colorado. So does he do that again?
I like Will's prediction here of McMahon to hit a home run in his first game after not being named to the All-Star team.
Yeah.
I like that. And he's also due. He hadn't hit a homer in a minute.
And he doesn't even have that big of a payout. He's at plus 350.
Yeah, so plus 350, which is weird.
Another guy that that DraftKings is saying, you know what? Not so much. I mean, Eduardo Escobar, does he do it? Does he, again, if you want to write stories, does he go and hit a home run knowing he's on the trade block? And then immediately once he goes back into the dugout, is told that he's traded. But are the D-backs going to trade their all-star? Like, that's not a great look.
No.
Again, we know we've had those conversations about the Rockies, but
until after the All-Star game, duh.
Ooh, that is a weird one, right?
That's a very weird one. We'll be watching that as well. He's a nice little player. I like him. And Brendan Rodgers at plus 525. Remember, he's been homering on the road. He hasn't hit a ton lately, so he might be due. He had really good at-bats on the homestand, but I think he's ready to he got Adam Wainwright in game 1 of that, right? And that's the last time he hit a home run. So I think that's a nice pacing of games to home run ratio. That's another thing I'll look at. It's like, if it's been 5 or 6 games since a home run hitter's hit a home run, I might take him to get one. And with him doing it on the road, that's another one I might like.
Could be. Yeah, he's been hitting really well. He went a little bit quiet over the weekend, just a tiny bit, but he can't be, the Rockies' best player every single game.
Right.
He's arguably been, for the past month. So that I like that prediction too. Maybe he gets his hands on one.
Yeah. Now strikeouts low in this one. 4.5 for John, who got 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. 1 start ago. Leapfrogged 1 start. Is that 2 starts ago, or is it 1 start removed from? I don't know how you say that.
In Milwaukee, yeah, 10 strikeouts, right. No walks.
Yeah.
And then even against Pittsburgh, he still struck out 5.
Yeah.
So right there, they're saying,
like,
there's going to be a lot more contact, but I would hammer that over. I would definitely hammer that over. That's at -125 for John Gray to have over 4.5. Merrill Kelly's at 5.5. He's a little bit higher. He's been kind of averaging right around 6 in his starts. And actually, historically, again, going back to his last 5 starts against the Rockies, 6 strikeouts, 1-5-5-5. So for that, I would go with that under. And again, the Rockies just putting the ball in play, kind of using that model and saying, let's see what happens. Let's adjust a little bit. We're not going to be hitting 3-run home runs on the road, so we might as well just put the ball in play and see what happens. So don't feel as confident about that. I would definitely take the over on John Gray a lot more so. But if you had to take one on Merrill Kelly, take under 5.5.
Yeah, I like those. Breaking news here on the show: Matt Olson will participate in the home run derby. That was somebody that we highlight in our potential guys, and I talked specifically about how I wanted to see him. I've got him on my Diamond Dynasty team in MLB The Show. Big Matt Olson guy, but yeah, he's a humongous dude with a great enormity of raw power. I'm very excited to see what he can do, and I would not be at all surprised if it is Matt Olson and not Shohei Ohtani who hits the longest home run of the home run derby. Dude mashes. So that'll be fun. I'm excited about that. All right. Also on the do you have any other lines? That's the wrong thing. I guess to get hits. But like you said, a lot of these guys are over 1.5, right? Is Tapia get 2 hits tonight?
CJ Cron's the only one that he's at half, and he's actually 1 for 1 against Merrill Kelly. And and he's been hitting pretty well on the road. He did have a homer in Seattle in a real big spot late.
Yeah.
I kind of like the odds on that. He's the only one that I have confidence with because again, 2 hits on the road is hard to come by for the team.
Yeah, right.
And we're saying, this guy's going to have 2. So I mean, maybe you go under for a lot of these guys, right? Trevor Story 1.5. All right, under, that's -240. So you're laying out a lot of money on that to begin with, right? So that means for almost a $2 to $3 bet, you're only going to win $1 back on that. So you're laying a lot out on the line. Whereas with CJ Cron, over a half is still -210, but it's a lot easier to get there, right? You're not, you may not have to wait for a second at bat. You could have your answer by the end of the top half of the second inning and go, all right, I've already cashed in on that one.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I might like Croner to get a hit tonight. The one thing he does sometimes is he'll walk away from that hit. He will take that damn walk right away. He will Joey Votto you out of your money. For everybody who's ever, I bet there are a lot of people over the years who have bet on Joey Votto to get a hit because it was a really smart thing to do because he's a great hitter, and then he would go 0 for 1 with 3 walks, and you'd be like, "You son of a."
Yeah, David Peralta and Christian Walker, they're both also over 1.5, but they have good lines for paying out. Peralta and Christian Walker at +195. Same thing with Eduardo Escobar.
Remember that over on Peralta. He's getting 2, 3, maybe 4 hits tonight.
Yeah, he's got a 987 OPS against Gray in his career.
But just against Gray.
He's 3 for 9 against him so far this year.
Yeah.
So that's 333 batting average. Was 3 for 5 last year in 2019, 1 for 3. So, he's usually chipping in with a couple of hits. I think that's why you see his line as high as it is. And the same thing with, Christian Walker, 908 OPS against John Gray. Not quite as many at bats and about half as many at bats. But still, a decent player. Peralta's the one that you want on the over on that. And again, really good payout. Plus 195, way better than CJ Cron.
Yeah. Hey, look, if you've got to endure when David Peralta plays against the Colorado Rockies, because if you've watched him, you've seen him do it, you might as well make a little money on it. You might as well hop on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Be like, I know what this guy's going to do to my team. We should have done that when Goldschmidt was in town. Like, he's going to get hits. Like, he didn't have any Well, he didn't know he had the one big, he had a 2-run home run in one of the games that made it. Take the over on Paul Goldschmidt when he's at Coors Field, just always, and take the over on David Peralta against the Rockies.
There's one curious one. It's Josh Rojas, who you might even make the case he could have been the DBacks lone all-star, shortstop. So he might be taking a spot over Trevor Story. We'll see what happens for that. Hopefully, if there is a situation where Escobar gets traded, even if it's in the NL, he's not going to be wearing D-backs, right? Like that happened. Look it up. Jeff Shaw going from the Reds to the Dodgers. That's a thing that has happened before. And again, look, if you're making a business move or you're thinking about the future, you're going to do that. It's not a good look for PR. People will get over it. So, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But nevertheless, Josh Rojas 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts against John Gray. DraftKings says over under 1.5 hits. He hasn't even gotten 1 hit, but DraftKings is saying, is he going to get 2? Hey, Josh, let's get 1 hit first before anything else. So if you want the under on that, that's minus 265. Looks like the over plus 195. There's one. Again, and then some of these bets, maybe these are ones that you make when you're hanging out at the DNVR bar and you're doing it offline, making a friendly bet for a Breck Brew, whatever it might be. Again, you've got the edge here knowing that Rojas 0 for 5, 3 Ks. You're lucky if you get 1, kid.
Come on. Let's adjust those expectations just a little bit. All right. Hey, speaking of expectations, you can expect to be taken care of absolutely fantastically by our friends over at Chevalier Mortgage. You got any questions about loans or the market, trying to buy a house, trying to sell a house? It can be stressful, man. Trust me, I know. It can be really challenging, and you shouldn't go through it on your own. You should check in with Mike and Virginia Chevalier. They will take the burden of this extremely difficult process totally off your shoulders. They will work with you, make it actually even potentially fun for buying and refinancing and any of those kinds of things you got to go through. They've got this great deal for DNVR listeners. Visit DNVRmortgage.com. Enter to win a free DNVR shirt or hat of your choice. But most importantly, when you do, you'll get set up with a free consultation to discuss all of your options. A free consultation at DNVRmortgage.com. They're proud DNVR members, CSU alum. They work hard on, making sure that everybody is treated like, I'm doing the Vin Diesel again, family. They treat you well. They make the process a lot better. Do check them out. Like we said, you can go to DNVRmortgage.com today, or you can call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578 or Mike at 970-412-2472. Michael Chevalier, NMLS number 1931006, and Virginia Chevalier, NMLS number 1910631. And who are our other friends of the day? Our friends over at Solace Meds. You got some of the best herb anywhere in town over at Solace Meds. They have fantastic deals. I hope you guys didn't miss out on that 4th of July sale. That was absolutely wild. But they've got fantastic stuff, all different kinds of things, whether they're looking for some edibles, some drinks, some resin cartridges, gummies, obviously your standard flower stuff, pre-rolls, and they've got deals constantly on all that stuff, changing all the time. Locations in Fort Collins, Wheat Ridge, one on Broadway, and just blocks away from the DNVR bar on East Colfax. And if you head to the Wheat Ridge location, you get a free Solace bar or King Cone when you mention the code DNVR20, which otherwise gets you 20% off. And all the stuff that you get in there. And then again, at Wheat Ridge, that'll also get you a free Solace bar or King Cone. That's code DNVR20. Our friends Solace Meds, check them out, SOLACE meds.com.
What got a bigger excitement out of you, Drew? Bud Black being named to the All-Star coaching staff, which we had expected.
Sure.
We knew he'd be their secret second representative. Or were you more excited over another round of awful MLB caps?
Oh, man. What?
Which was more exciting?
Okay. So I don't get
or what got your blood flowing more, right? Like, what's a more generic way of saying what made you feel something more?
What's hilarious is it was the stupid hat thing. And because like you said, and this is maybe a little self-reflective moment for me of what I've come to take for granted in this job. Because I've I like you said, expected Bud Black to be there. Actually, I knew a couple of days ago for sure Bud Black was going to be there, and so. And it's nice for him, and he's had a nice career. And I like, you know what? And in any other time in my life, I would have been like, "That's awesome. I care about that. Care about him. It's a very good thing." I don't care at all about hats. You've heard me say a million times on this podcast. I don't know anything about uniforms or graphic design or colors or what. But what are those?
More bedness.
Is this the year of this? Is that what this is? Did I miss a memo where 2021 is just a year where it's like we're going to put terrible graphic design on everything?
Well, I think, and this is only coming to me right now, like, there's a renaissance of 90s style, right? And from the 1990s and, with overalls and maybe some tie-dyes, like anything that was kind of even grunge look, right? From the early to mid 90s. And I sort of feel like these caps are more like late 90s. Like basically let's put out a hat that Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit would have worn. And I feel like this is a kind of a template for that, but it doesn't fit. Like not everything from the 90s needs to come back. Not like one of those styles. Like there were caps, if you even remember, that it had Japanese writing on it, and it would be each team with Japanese writing or even Yiddish writing on it, and those were of the time, and they were great at that time. Like I was interested by those. But now, being a little bit older, being at 2021, you can see here if you're watching live on YouTube, one of the reasons why you always got to make sure you hit the subscribe button for us. You can see the Red Bullsocks and the Philpies, because they're just got all of these weird
Phil Pies.
The Yankees.
What?
Because you got YAN with the NY in the middle, interlocking, and then keys. So it's the Yankees and the Phil Pies. I don't know.
I do not understand how this stuff gets through what I assume is multiple rounds of conversation with people who are paid to design things. I do not understand how this happens.
And I'm glad you showed that too, because what happened with the area code caps is they MLB and New Era tried to kind of scrub that from the internet, but we've got a record. Now we've got a record of this. So we'll always have this edition on YouTube in case that tries to get, they try to scrub that. Someone I saw, tinkered even with the colors, and they said, "Oh, hey, give us the Colorado State flag with the red, white, blue, and yellow," and that actually was better.
Yeah.
But it was still, somewhat of an abomination. But it was an improvement. So, kudos to that person. I'll tell you what, Bud Black, that didn't get my blood going and circulating because we had expected for so long. But what did in the same press release that did get me excited was head trainer Keith Duggar will also be a part of the NL team. Director of Physical Performance Gabe Bauer is joining the staff. And then another cool thing, people that we circulate with a lot more, is Dave Anspar is going to be the official scorer for the game. And Jillian Gieb, who just recently became, depending on who you ask, the third or fourth woman to ever be an official scorer. So she's going to keep score at the Sirius XM All-Star Futures game on Sunday. So it's great that, again, as the baseball world descends upon Denver, a lot of people in this community and that are doing some amazing things in Colorado for baseball that aren't exactly the guys you see on the field, that they're getting their plaudits too, and they're taking part in this, MLB and worldwide event, really.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I'm glad you highlighted all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure I'd have to double check. I would be shocked if Keith Duggar hadn't been there before. I would doubt this was his first All-Star game, but I don't know.
2008, right? 2008.
Yeah. Well, sure, right. And then because he's been with the team forever. Out there, he's still checking on Matt Holliday's chin, but Yeah, but it's like it's not important when a guy's a fourth-time All-Star. Like it's still like it's going to the All-Star game, getting to be there for all of it's a big deal, and that's really cool. So I'm glad you highlighted all that stuff. And
yeah, it's pretty neat. This is actually coincidentally the fourth time that Bud Black's been on the coaching staff, and I do feel a little bit bad for Dave Martinez, who manager of the Nationals. Won the World Series in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
There was no All-Star game in 2020, so he never got to manage. And he's now, at this point, not going to be a part of that coaching staff. I don't know if that's something that may change. We'll wait and see. But, he could go down in history as a guy who won the World Series but yet didn't come back to manage. Because I think even Tony La Russa, if I'm not mistaken, he won the World Series, retired, but then I think he still came back.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Story. That sounds familiar to me. So, yeah, unless we just Mandela affected that into existence, I'm pretty sure you're right on that. Will makes a great point too that those hats do look like they were designed by the Deep Dream AI generator. If you guys have seen that thing, and someone just used it to search for MLB teams, and it's just a Deep Dream like impression of what that team is or whatever. It's just like it just vomited their general concept onto the front of the hat. It's like what in the world? Yeah, I don't. Again,
I think wingdings.
Somebody who
they could have just used wingdings, and I think that might have even been slightly better, or some kind of autocorrect. Like I remember the first time encountering autocorrect when I was a kid in typing class and typing in Scottie Pippen. And autocorrect says, you mean pig pen. And I go, okay, this is fun. Now, you've got me hooked, autocorrect. This is a good suggestion. I like this. Let's play with that.
See what you're doing here.
I don't know what Rockies would have been corrected to, but that could be a fun game.
Man, yeah. Somebody had them auto-corrected to, okay, thank you. And Kristen's on a first-name basis with Tony, I noticed. Tony managed
TLR.
Love it. Well, yeah. So, and I appreciate actually more. Thank you for confirming that for us. But, oh shoot! Now I lost the point I was going to make. Got all into that Tony La Russa.
Awful hats, gear, slapping a logo on everything to sell merchandise.
Just again, as the person who has no background in this whatsoever, and for the most part doesn't bat an eye when people are wearing things that are clashing or whatever. Like you see stuff like this and you just are totally befuddled by it. Like again, I don't know how, because it's not just like one person made it and put it out there and it's like, oh, this kind of sucks, and then I would feel bad. But like this was a whole bunch of people got together and decided to make these.
It's very chuggy. I'll say that. I'm sure that word is being thrown around. It's very chuggy, if you will, and it's not a great look. But hey, you know what? If they find out that people are going to be interested and buy that, you never know, because again, these caps, they're not even necessarily for baseball fans, right? Because we see, again, if it looks good, if just the style, whatever it is, it's what it represents, then people are going to buy it, people are going to wear it, and they're like, hey, it's my city, or I like the colors, and it's kind of loud in that capacity. Hey, that's who I am, colorful, loud person. I'm going to go out and get those, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Or you check back in December, and they will be on the MLB shop at a severe discount.
Wildly Innocent nails it. This is meetings were held.
We assume. Could have been it could have been a Zoom meeting with just blackness in someone's name and not really paying attention for that to go down.
Did you show these to anybody?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cap's really bad.
Wrong. But as we talked about, Steven getting in a little bit late, but also throwing in with the prediction the Rockies get 2 in the desert, maybe 1 in San Diego. We're going to find out. We're going to see. We're going to be watching all the games. We'll be reporting to you, obviously. We'll be gearing up for All-Star Week and all the things that are going on therein, home run derby, the draft. I don't know that we're going to have extensive coverage of the celebrity softball game, but we might. You tell us. You tell us what you would like to see, because here at DNVR, you're a part of the one last time, Vin Diesel. the family. And
I don't know. I've seen some clips on Instagram. Cuevo in the batting cage. He's really bringing his A game. His stylized cleats looking pretty much on point. Noah Beck. Don't sleep on Noah Beck. No relation to Glenn. I know that's what you're thinking. No, different guy altogether.
The only Beck I know just simply goes by Beck.
Yeah. The Miz will be there. So if there's any opportunity to talk to anyone at the softball game, I mean, besides Vinny and Larry Walker will be there. And they still haven't rounded out the team entirely. They only announced the incredibly famous people like DK Metcalf.
Stay by your phone.
Yeah, we'll see who we talk to. But the Miz is at the top of our list.
Yeah.
The Miz is there.
That'll be fun. So, but let us know the stuff around the All-Star week that you're most interested in. There are a lot of people in the Discord sharing like what they're going to, which events they're going to be at. Some people have got tickets, selling some tickets at a totally fair price rather than getting way marked up on these ridiculous sites out there or whatever. One of the great reasons to subscribe, become a member. And that way people going to games together, figuring out like carpooling situations, stuff like that. Because it's going to be wild. You're going to need a plan.
There's even been new events like today. We found out there's actually going to be like a high school All-American game. So everyone that's talking about Elijah Green going number 1 overall next year, he's going to be at Coors Field, Yang. Yeah. He's going to be there.
Like there's just a lot of fun stuff to do. So come hang out with us. Subscribe to the DNVR.com so you don't miss out on any of that stuff. And you get to hang out in our Discord channel. You get discounts on all kinds of stuff. You get bigger beer down at the DNVR bar. And you just get to be a member of family. And of course, I'll stop out. I'm just doing it today, I promise. Make sure that you're following everybody, of course, on social media at Drew Creasman, at Patrick D. Lyons, at Makayla E. Perkins. Don't forget, she'll be back before too long, getting a much deserved week away here. And at DNVR_Rockies. It's going to be a wild week leading up to the All-Star break, and it's not going to be anything like a break for us. We're going to be going right through it. We're going to be down there. We're going to be covering the draft. We're going to be covering the game. Going to be covering the home run derby. We're going to be at the DNVR bar a lot. We have a very, very special fun guests, I should say, that I'm not 100% sure we're announcing here just yet. We might be doing this with graphics team and on social media. I think we're planning it out, so I won't say exactly who, but I will tell you on that Sunday before the All-Star game, you might want to block out some time to come down to the DNVR bar, or at least make sure that you're catching us live that evening, because it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Be prepared for all of that. Other than that, we can only ask that you keep being absolutely the best baseball fans out there. We'll keep being absolutely the best Patrick Lyons and Drew Creasman in here. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.